Alright, so hello and welcome to a Xenonauts air combat guide for the early access portion, okay? So I'm going to break this video up into two parts. I'm going to show you the actual interceptions and what you need to do in there and break down some UFO types. And then the second half of this video, I'll show you the loadouts of the aircraft. Now again, this video is from the early access, basically as soon as it came out of early access, okay? They're supposedly going to be changing our air combat and how it runs dramatically, but we'll see about that later, okay? So, without further ado, you see we have new contacts, okay? So if you ever see this is a regular UFO, medium, I think it's a destroyer, and it's coming towards us at low altitude. Basically, all you need to know is the size and the speed, okay? So, looking at our regular base here, you also see these red diamonds. These red diamonds are fighter aircraft, if you're unfamiliar with them. They will actively hunt down and chase your UFOs, okay? There are different types, okay? There are two types of fighters you will see. You will either see these red diamonds escorting something like this ship that's going to come and attack my base, or you will see these by themselves. If they're by themselves, they will actively try to go fight your fighter aircraft that you send up at them, okay? It's a little buggy on whether they'll do that or not, but let's just say they do, all right? So we are going to try to intercept this target down here. We're going to regularly launch interceptors, okay? I have Phantoms right now at this base, and this will show you the difference between Phantoms and Foxtrots, okay? I have Foxtrots in basically Asia. Now, technically, when you send them out to intercept, you can always change where they're going, okay? You can select a new patrol. This button lets you select the squadron and hold their current position or fly a patrol route over a local area. So, technically, they just stop moving, but meh. They also have a little radar signature thing here. This is their own radar. So, there's not AWACS in the game, but what you can do is if you don't have coverage over Europe, you could theoretically, if you start seeing reports of people being abducted over here, you could theoretically send your aircraft over there to go investigate with their own radars. But that's just what it's showing you. And also, this is just in real time. So again, your aircraft move pretty fast, especially at tier 2. So right now you see military aircraft destroyed. That means you could probably send a fighter squadron over there to go investigate what they're doing. And that is actually increasing the panic in America, all right? So let's just speed this up. I'll show you. We're going to be intercepting UFO. Now, you have a few different options here. You can tail the target if it's not actively going to engage you, okay? You can tail target until over land, which is usually what you should do in most case scenarios. Now, I know this is going to go to Miami because, again, I've saved this and reloaded it just for this occasion, but it's coming up here. Now, they may vary their course, but basically what your squadron is doing is waiting for the target to come over land. Why do you do this? There are various reasons. One, you can get the UFO to crash, which means you can send your XCOM operatives there, okay? That's number one reason. Number two reason is if you shoot it down, the panic in that area where it's shot down will go down, okay? So if it's shot down over Latin America, the panic level will decrease there. And the third thing is you can get money out of this. If you shoot them down, you'll be able to airstrike it, or basically let the local government take it, and they will, you'll get money, but they get everything else, which can be useful if you're shooting down multiple UFOs, all right? So now we have UFO-19 over Japan, okay? We can see it's a small, probably a scout, with 2,100 kilometers an hour. We're going to launch our interceptors. We have Angel 1, 2, and 3, okay? Now, again, we'll talk about their armaments and loadout later, but we're going to send the squadron over there. Now, they're a lot slower than the Phantoms, but this is your base aircraft that you have. And actually, right now in early access, they never actually degrade in use because there's not a lot of UFOs. They don't have like UFO battleships and carriers yet, okay? So, we have now targeted or tailed the destroyer, so we're going to commence the attack now. We get some very cool music. All right, so whenever you are trying to fight different types of UFOs, they usually have an arc of fire, okay? Now, just on this specific case, the destroyers have a heavy gun in the front, which is actually easier to dodge than their light gun in the back, okay? The light gun in the back will actually rip you apart, surprisingly enough. Now, you have various commands that you can do here, okay? If you click on any of your weapons, it's going to lock them out, okay? If you have missiles, okay, and this is specific for avalanche torpedoes, which we'll talk about again in part 2, in the second half of this. If you have avalanche missiles and Sidewinder missiles in the same squadron, which we'll show you after this engagement, you want to fire your avalanches first because to destroy their armor, and then fire your Sidewinders and then go in with guns, okay? But for the Phantoms, that's not an option, okay? So just be that as it may, they have laser cannons here, okay? If you press 1, you'll hold fire, and then you can fire at green. The only reason to do this is with missiles and different combinations of missiles, okay? On your top left side, you're going to have various income angles that you can set your squad fighters to, okay? This is basically if you're fighting one UFO by itself, you can divide its fire or it'll swing around both ways, okay? Which lets one fighter basically get behind it and neutralize it. And if you're really good, which I'm probably not going to be able to do this perfectly, but if you're perfect with this, you can shoot it down with no damage to any aircraft. Some other little bits here. If you click on one of these little aircraft here, you can actually change where it will go, okay? If you select a target, you will see that this little red triangle, triangle, whatever this is, will pop up over the UFO. That's telling you that it is targeting that UFO. The same for this. And this is important if you have missile locks, because again, you can just tell it not to shoot the missile here, but still engage it. And then this is telling to fire missiles. Again, we'll go over this when we intercept the next UFO, okay? But just want to preface that, all right? The last few things here is you have afterburners, which massively increase the fuel usage of your aircraft, but also get up to ridiculous speed, which you need to if you're going to close with the UFO and attack on this side, where you won't be shot at. I'll show you that here. And then you have these evasive rolls, roll left and roll right. Okay, that is on the angle of the aircraft. So we Phantom 1 will roll this way if left, and then this way if right. Phantom 2 will roll, if it is going this way, it'll roll on its left axis, which will be this way, and then right will be this way. Yeah, that's how that works. So congratulations, you're a little confused here. The more you do these air combats, you'll get better at it, all right? And also, if you press spacebar, you'll pause combat. Never go anything above regular speed. I'll just tell you that right now. So, how to engage a destroyer with a Phantom? You kind of want to basically leave it on, or you can tell them to go in a very specific direction. In this case, I'm going to tell them to go here, and then I'll tell Phantom 2 to do the same thing. I want them to push it to afterburner, okay? Now, when they're in afterburner, they cannot fire any weapon. That is different from, I believe, Xenonauts 1, where they can still engage with guns. In Xenonauts 2, you have to, if they're an afterburner, they can't fire anything. So just remember that. It's very important that you do. All right, so let's go. Now, again, I'm already pausing. So, this aircraft looks like it's turning to Phantom 2. We're going to tell Phantom 1 to start heading over this way and Phantom 2 to start heading over to this way. Again, we want to try and get in this gun's range over this one, if at all possible. Alright, now we've basically closed to target distance. We're going to tell both of them to disengage their afterburners, alright? Now, Phantom 1 is coming up very fast. Now, we're going to pause again when they're within range and slow down, okay? You can slow your aircraft down by doing this, but we're not going to do that. Well, I accidentally did it, but that's how you slow your aircraft down. Alright, so now you see Phantom 2 is already engaging with their guns, okay? We want Phantom 1 to come within range, but stay outside of weapons range of the tail gun. Alright, Phantom 2, I need you to roll. You also have Q and E, so Q should tell it to go this way, which is what I wanted it to do. It's going to roll out of the way of this gun, and Phantom 1 is going to continue, is now engaging, okay? Now I'm going to slow Phantom 1 down a little bit. Looks like we might take a hit here. We're going to roll again. I press Q on Phantom 2. We're rolling again. Target is destroyed. Perfect example of you can shoot down a UFO without taking any damage, which is very necessary, and I will show you why. Because when this UFO is downed, okay, we're going to either launch combat team or collect bounty. In this case, I'm going to collect a bounty. Now, these aircraft right here, these fighter aircraft are coming in directly for this squadron. The squadron is going to return to base, okay? Fighters can't attack your base as far as I know of. They can't land there, but they will try to shoot aircraft down. And in this case, I actually do want to engage them. So, if they crash into the sea, you get nothing. If they crash into the states or anywhere that has a landmass, you will actually salvage them, okay? Now, you see these aircraft are changing their direction. They're on an intercept course. So, theoretically, what I want to do here is get them over land and then engage them. Because they will engage me or I will engage them, and I want to be the first one to engage them, which means I get the tactical advantage in this case, okay? As it seems right now, we're going to select a new target. We're going to go over to Florida because it looks like they're coming on a beeline for me. Meanwhile, we have the other squadron that's going to go engage the next UFO, and I'll show you how to do missiles there, all right? So, we can speed this up, actually, a tiny bit. It's too close. Okay. So, again, this is why you want to kind of play on speed 1 if you're doing stuff like this, all right? We have another UFO up there. We will engage that one after we kill these two fighters, all right? Okay, Squadron 1 is on target. We're going to... There we go. They've engaged us, all right? So we will commence attack. There is either you run or you don't, all right? So we are at a head-on pass. That is the best thing to do with fighters, okay? Now, fighters, and that's at least in this version, I don't believe they have missiles, but if they have missiles, you need to dodge, okay? And I'll show you how to dodge some of their attacks here. Now, again, both Phantoms are lined up on their fighters, and this is perfectly normal. You're going to have to take a head-on engagement with them, okay? There is no other ifs, ands, or buts. And I have laser lances, which basically give me more range, but they take longer to shoot, but they pierce armor and do everything very well, all right? So let's go. Okay, so now we are firing. Ideally, we would want to drop our speed. There are two ways you can do this. You can keep your speed up to increase your evasive rolls, or you can drop speed and hope you can get another shot. In this case, I'm going to drop my speed to as slow as we can, because we are within range. They're not. Now they fired, okay? We're going to press E. We're going to select Phantom 1. We're going to press E. They're going to roll to their right. Phantom 2, we're going to press Q. They should roll to their left. All right, that's the first attack's dodge. We are still engaging the aircraft. They have their cannon, and it looks like they have their whatever missile things that they're having right now, okay? Now, we're going to probably get hit by one of these. Well, let's see which one. So it seems like the first laser missed, the second laser missed. The second laser hit, and then we're going to get hit with this massive charge, but we should be able to take them down now. There we go. All right, we took 5 armor damage, and it looks like 15 health. That's pretty good for 2 fighters, okay? Now, they're not done yet. We need to intercept this next target, okay? Right there, all right? There we go. We're going to intercept the next UFO, and we'll see which squadron gets over there. Now, again, we have even more fighters, so you can see how we can start to get a little hectic around here. Now, technically what they're doing here is they're tailing the target till over land, I think. Or might even be too fast for Phantoms. There we go. All right. So we're going to tail target till over land with this one. All right. Now it's over. What is it? I think the Dominican Republic, but I can't tell right now. Again, we are going to engage it. Now, observers are a little different. Okay? Their job is to get to the edge of the map as fast as possible. Okay? Your job is to shoot them down. So, they only have one gun, and it's on a swivel mount, which means you can trick it. Kind of. It has to either focus on one or two. It can't focus on both unless you get into both. Unless you put both of your aircraft in that line of fire, which you don't want to do. All right. So we're gonna back up Phantom 2 a little bit, and we're gonna play. All right. It's focusing on Phantom 1. We're gonna tell Phantom 2 to punch it, and Phantom 1, I want you to evade for a second. Now, Phantoms are very good at maneuvering, which is going to come in handy right now. So now we're going to tell Phantom 1 to turn around. Phantom 2 is about to be engaged. Roll. Oh, sorry. See, this is already messed up. I had it on Afterburner, and I didn't mean to keep having it on Afterburner. Roll out of the way, so we roll to an attack. Phantom 1 is going to come in on the side and keep shooting. And now we want to punch up Phantom 2 to get out of its weapon's range, if in theory. So what you can do here is if you pass into between a gun to where the gun line is right here, is if we punch through this, it has to rotate all the way around to shoot us, whereas we can rotate very fast, and Phantom 1 will still be shooting the entire time. So right now, we've outran the gun line, which in this case is very good, because Phantom 1 gets free shots, and I'm able to swing around and not get hit by the observer's guns. I got hit right there. Dodge. There we go. Pretty decent amount of interceptions right there. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good, okay? Now, that one went down. Now, in this case, we may want to return to base, because these guys don't have ammo. Phantom 2 has 0 armor, and these both Phantoms are both damaged. Theoretically, I could try to engage these next fighters, and we might come out even. And we may even win, okay? But we'll leave it there, all right? So now, how do we engage with Angel aircraft, or your F-25s-Foxtrots, all right? Now, in this case, we're going for an observer. An observer has 0 armor and 475 health, okay? So it really doesn't matter which missiles you fire first, okay? If you hover over your missiles, you can see that they have extreme range, okay? This is telling you their range and then which angles they can shoot at, all right? So, in this case, we're going to fire all the missiles into the observer and shoot it down. but it's not going to be shot down by just missiles. I'll just tell you that right now. We're going to have to go in for guns. Now, if this was a destroyer, what we would do is we would put these missiles on red, fire these torpedoes like I will show you right now. These missiles are going to go out. As soon as they are hit or they are about to hit, you would then fire your missiles from your other aircraft, okay? You didn't fire actual missiles into your torpedoes if you were fighting a destroyer. But in this case, we're not. Or any aircraft that has armor, all right? Okay, now we are going to, since he's going to focus on Angel 2, we are going to roll and see if we can get out of its way. It doesn't look like so. You're taking a hit, roll. Roll. Moderate damage on Angel 2, but again, the rest of them were not damaged at all, all right? We have another crash site. So as you can see, we're doing pretty well here, okay? I'll try and see if I can get another aircraft where it will, I might actually be able to do it here if I'm fast enough. So what we're going to try and do here, this is again for demonstration purposes. Do not actually do this. This is how you lose aircraft. This is how you lose aircraft, but again, this is demonstration purposes. I'm going to wait for it to rearm. Hopefully it has rearmed, and we're going to launch these aircraft. They're going to chase the fighters down. Okay, this is demonstration purposes only. Don't actually put missiles on your Phantoms, because you're about to see why. Okay, now, technically, you can fire your missiles at the designated targets that you have lit up, okay? Now, enemy fighters can roll, which is why you do something a little different here, okay? So, if you have missiles, they have a certain range that they can only be fired at. That range is not really known, but it's pretty close to the aircraft. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this time run. Okay. Now what we're going to do, in theory, is going to fire a missile at this fighter that we have locked up for Phantom 1, which is right here. Missile is away. Now, theoretically, this fighter should dodge, right? As it dodges like this, you want to fire your second missile once it completes this roll. So it has completed its roll. We're going to fire the second missile. Okay, and then you see, we will dodge, but they can't dodge yet because, because they haven't had their thing refill. Okay, now that's the second missile hit. That is how you actually deal with fighter aircraft when you have missiles. So if you had 2 missiles and a gun, that would be preferable here, but right now I'm gonna get fucked up. But that's actually how you deal with targets like that. There we go. Got them both, even though I didn't think we would, all right? So that's how you deal fighter v fighter with missiles, all right? So theoretically, that should cover most, if not all, targets. Again, I will run through this, and we'll just see if there's any more UFOs that pop up. If not, we're going to go over to the next thing. Okay, so yeah, here's a fighter and its breakdown, okay? And it looks like the answer is no, okay? So hopefully that helps you guys understand what's going on in air combat and what you need to do there, okay? Now we're going to go on to the armament section, so I'll see you over there. Okay, so this is the armament section or screen. Whenever you pull up a base, you have to go to the aircraft screen over here, okay? So this is my main base, this is my secondary base, and this is my third base I'm setting up on this playthrough, okay? So, on your regular Angels, so your X-25s, okay, the ones that you can build for very cheap because they take, what is it, like $350,000 and that's it? Yes, and they don't actually, at least in the current version of the game, they are never completely useless, okay? I believe in Xenonauts 1, if you try to use F-16 in a very late game, it would be completely useless. But in right now, because there's no battleships, carriers, or cruisers, they're still pretty decent, okay? When they run into actual enemy fighters, that can be a problem, okay? They're not completely worthless there, but it comes a little bit of a... It's not as great of a trade-off there, all right? So, the regular Angels, their top speed is not great. They have some health, and you can actually put some armor on here. I will show you that now. Okay, so you should have some research eventually get you some armor. So basically, I think it's like UFO armor. And you can actually add alloy plating to your Angels, which is actually 5, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that really does help them boost their survivability because you have to hit through the armor. When the armor has to melt away and it reduces damage for like the first 2 hits, which can actually make a significant difference, okay? Now, talking about loadouts on aircraft, okay? As you can see, Angel 1 and 2 for me have 2 missiles each, 2 regular missiles, and then Angel 3 has torpedoes. And they all have a cannon hardpoint for a laser, all right? Now, this is how I would suggest you run your aircraft, because again, in the very beginning of the game, you should be only having regular Sidewinder missiles, like AM-9s, okay? Now, they're not very good, but they are still available, okay? And you have a cannon. Now, theoretically, you can put another missile here if you want to only shoot missiles, which can be a valid tactic if you're fighting a massive ship. Again, we're talking Xenonauts 1 here, because in Xenonauts 2 it's not done. But in Xenonauts 1, what you could do is strap an Angel 3 like this, have only torpedoes, and then do it for the other 2 aircraft, and go engage an aircraft, fire all the torpedoes, return to base, and do it again. But that's not in the game yet, so we're not going to really talk about that, okay? But ideally, what you would want to do here, for any threat that you don't know what you're going to be facing, which is significantly a lot unless you get really good at this game and reading off stats, usually your first 2 aircraft, at least for the Angels series, is you're going to want to have these aluminum or lyrium missiles, okay? 2 each. And then you want their cannons, because why not have the missiles that you can just shoot off, okay? Now, they can't actually mount cannon hardpoints here, but they can mount missiles. And your cannon hardpoint can actually be a missile. And yes, if you do that, you can still roll, just in case you're curious for some reason. Some people say that that's like been taken out. That's not the case. Now, the reason you want to have a 1 Angel on a general squadron loadout to have these torpedoes is because if you fight a destroyer with just missiles on every aircraft, you're not going to do a lot of damage because its armor is still intact, okay? Now, torpedoes are able to do -15 armor destruction and penetrate 25 armor, which is pretty good, okay? But their damage is not very good. Whereas the missiles do a lot of damage, don't penetrate armor, and do some destructive capability to the UFO. So that's why you want one of your Angels to usually have torpedoes. They will fire first, destroy the armor, then your other Angels can shoot their missiles, and then you can all together go in with laser cannons or guns or whatever you have. Okay? And that's the general loadout that I would go for on every 3-ship flight that you're going to have. Unless, again, we're talking very specific niche scenarios that aren't in the early access build, in which you would need to run only torpedoes, okay? But it can be done that way if you want to go back to the base, all right? Next, we're going to talk about these Phantoms. You can get these actually relatively early. The problem is going to be building them because they require a lot of resources. Now, what you should run on the Phantoms is guns. Okay, now this may seem counterintuitive, and I don't exactly like the way this is set up, or they should be able to carry missiles and another gun or something like that, but they can only carry like 2 guns in reality. Now, they can carry these missiles and torpedoes, but as you saw, if they have laser lances, which again, you should research, you shouldn't go for the next cannon. The magnetic gun, you just shouldn't. It's trash compared to the laser lance, okay? Anyway, sticking those both on, you can see the work that we did destroying aircraft. Now, that's because the laser lance has a lot of ammo, it has -4 armor destruction, it doesn't do a lot of damage, but hey, it's always there. And for these aircraft, if you run 2 missiles each, you won't even be able to shoot down a fighter. As I showed you before, you can't even shoot down a single fighter with missiles. And even if both of them, or sorry, if one of them hits, you would need both to hit. And again, you only have 2 slots. So again, you're going to run guns or torpedoes. Again, very specific scenario is if you're running against a destroyer, you're going to fire your torpedoes, come back to base, get more torpedoes, go back out and shoot it down that way. You could do that. But I wouldn't recommend it. I would just recommend you stick on the guns there, okay? Now, some last little things here for the research-wise. Always go for the laser lance as fast as possible. It shouldn't be that hard of a research to get. You can actually get it pretty early. Now, there is one thing I would avoid, which is... where is it? There is the ability for you to get magnetic weapons. So your accelerated gun, you can actually get an accelerated version of the Gatling gun. I don't think I can even find it because I haven't even bothered to research it. Here it is. Okay, accelerated cannon. This is a piece of shit. Don't buy this, okay? The price tag here is $250,000. For $100,000 more dollars, okay, you can get another aircraft, okay? You can get another Angel, okay, for what you will pay for this thing, okay? Now, granted, this comes on every aircraft, But the problem is, if you actually look at its stats, it's not very good. Again, the laser cannon did 15, and it penetrated, I believe, not that much armor, but its destruction of armor was 2. And its range, I believe, was greater, but we will, I will show you the difference here. Okay, so now that we have, I have bought this stupid gun, you will see what its stats are. So it does 7 damage, 1 penetration, -5 armor destruction, reload time of 0.25 seconds, range of 3, firing arc of 20, and it has ammo of 0, so it has 0 out of 100. So it shells fire pretty fast, okay? Now, compare that to a laser lance, which destroys armor. Its reload time is 1 second, but it does 15 damage, okay? So, theoretically, this accelerated cannon does, in theory, pump out more damage in a 1 second. So that's what, 14? That's 28 damage in a second. And that would be 2 armor destruction for 4 bullets, and it penetrates 1 armor for 4 bullets, okay? But the problem here is that I believe the laser lance's range is 6 and the accelerated cannons is 3. That might not seem like a lot, but that really is. In all the air combats I showed you today, I could outrange enemy aircraft and avoid getting hit with something. That's why the laser lance is very good. Now, the accelerator cannon is not terrible. I just wouldn't bother researching it over the laser lance, because again, you're very dependent on resources here, and at least on veteran difficulty, the lance has never let me down, and I haven't even bothered to get this because the infantry weapons are also trash on them. Okay, so hope that helps you guys with your air combats, and leave in the comment section if you want to know something more. All right, see people next time.